So last week I began working on a mod that brings every character from BFN back to Garden Warfare 2. I did Acorn initially and I said I'd do more characters, and today we're going to be doing 80s action hero. So once again I had to begin by thinking about what character I'd rig 80s model to, since I can't import the animations from BFN. There's not many choices I've got for 80s, since obviously his animations are quite specific, so I was mixed between Gargantua and All-Star, and I eventually decided on All-Star since he's got the most animations for what I want to do. So now I have an idea on what to rig it to, it's time to take it into Blender and start actually making the model. So I started out by making new textures for 80s, since obviously I wanted him to be in the Garden Warfare 2 style. You can see here he's using a lot of the textures that are taken from Garden Warfare 2. And now I've got to pose him around All-Star's model so I can make it so all of his weights are the exact same. Makes it so it's a lot easier just for me to do transfer weights, and then immediately it puts all the weights onto the new model, so it just fits All-Star's rig immediately. I also decided I wanted to change his arms to be the ones from Garden Warfare 2 as well, so I'll be using All-Star's hands once I get it in the game. Now the posing wasn't too bad for this character when it came to the arms and the legs, since it was a similar model anyway, so it didn't really cause much issue outside of the scaling. The main problem was probably the face. Since in BFN a lot of the characters have a lot more expressions compared to Garden Warfare, there's quite a lot more burns on each of the models, which makes it a lot harder to pose each of the eyes and the different face burns and everything. It's a lot more awkward to do. So now I'm just quickly rigging the different feet for 80s, since obviously his foot is separated from the rest of his model for cosmetics, and then I've got the glasses in now too as well. For some reason they're a bit tilted, so I had to move them around to get it just right. Now I didn't realise this about his hair, but for some reason they don't attach the bandana to the model, so I had to manually add it later on. Now I'm going to import All-Star's head so I can move 80s just to match it, so I can try and make it so his jaw moves properly. I also had to rig 80's hair just to the head so it moves properly, because for some reason some of the burns wasn't working properly. I'm also changing the UVs on the face just so I can get it looking just right. So everything for the main model is now done, so it's now time to work on probably the worst part of all of this, the eyelids. Now there's probably an easier way to move these around, but I didn't know anything like that, so I just had to manually move each and every burn to try and get it looking just how I wanted. And to be honest, I never really got anywhere with this, so I had to keep moving it around, going back and forth until I got exactly what I was after. Now the idea once it's in the game isn't to allow you to move the eyes around and stuff, you're not meant to take the glasses off, but I still want the eyes to look normal outside the glasses, so it gives him the idea that he is still looking through them. Now I realised I could just move all the burns behind his head and it would look perfectly fine, so I decided just to do that, and it worked honestly okay. Now it was time to transfer all the weights across to 80's model from All-Star. I made a bit of a mistake originally by using a model that has the arm shoulder things from Wrestling Star, because it means it's trying to make it so his t-shirt is rigged like the little shoulder pads, so I had to go back, remove all the shoulder pads off All-Star's model as you can see, and then transfer the weights again, and then you get something that's somewhat similar to an All-Star model without any armor. And that's kind of how we're going to have it look in game. Now I'm going to start working on the hands. You can see here I'm connecting the hands to the 80's model. I am going to have to make some custom gloves, and I'm not going to show that here because it was such a pain, but I'll get them in game too and then show you what the model looks like once it's all done. So this is the first test of 80's model in the game. You can see he's not got a weapon yet because I'm going to do that separately, but you can see the idea of what he's going to look like. I also got this very interesting clip when I was adding a new kit for him. Now I've got his model in the game for his gun now, you can see how it's going to look, but I did do a few other revisions later on. So before I started working on his weapon, I decided to get all of his VO in the game. You can see here once I stop talking you'll hear all the different sounds that he's making. So now I've got him talking, it's time to work on his weapon. So my idea was to build this weapon off of future cactuses, since it's a charged weapon, it's also a bit of ranged, and it also has similar effects to Eddie's as well, so it already gives me something to work off. This was the first test for this weapon. You can see it is basically just future cactus, but obviously forcing it into this. I did get the first shot working though, kind of. I was working with some ideas for the first shot you can do. You see in BFN, 80's normally fires 5 projectiles, and it goes down to 3, and then you've got the main charge which is just 1 projectile that goes straight forward. Now in Garden Warfare 2 I can't replicate that, so my idea instead was to make it an effect. So the Super Bean in Garden Warfare 2 fires a projectile that uses two emitters that are moved slightly in different directions to give the effect that both of them are coming out of his eye. I was going to use the same method to get the spread working on the projectiles. But you can see in this test it's not really working properly just yet. So I went back and did some more changes and made it so it does properly fire 5 in a proper line now. So you can see this is how it is. So now I wanted to get some sort of charge effect going on the weapon, and I decided to use a model that would show on his gun and slowly get bigger before you'd fire it. You can see here it's a bit messed up at the minute, it goes really big and it's not even positioned properly, but this is kind of a good way to start working on it. Now I've not only made it so it's got the weapon or the projectile model working, I've also made it so it has sounds now too, so I'll let you hear them now. I also added sounds for the projectiles as well. So I started working on some basic color change effects for it, being purple for the charge up and also the main first shot. Everything else is still work in progress though. So I wanted to get the damage values taken from BFN and put them onto my weapon, so I went ahead, opened up BFN, took a look at what damage values Hades uses, and I copied them into Garden Warfare 2. So you can see here the weapon is now doing 20 damage from range, which is similar to what it does in BFN. But there's a problem, it has no damage drop off. So I had to do the one thing that BFN refused to do and give each weapon a bit of damage drop off. If you don't know what that is, it's where your weapon does less damage depending on your range from a target. Now this is used on basically every Garden Warfare character apart from your snipers, and since Hades himself isn't actually meant to be a sniper, at least what I want to go for, I'm going to give him a bit of drop off so he's not too powerful. You can see here now he has a little bit of damage drop off. I'm sure that EA Mario and the rest of the BFN balancing team aren't very happy about this one. So now I made it so all the effects are purple to match the aesthetic of BFN. You can see here it's all starting to come together now. With the weapon complete now, it's time to start working on the abilities. I wanted to go from hardest to easiest, so I started off with the Can't Missile. So how this weapon works is you shoot a target till you get tags on them and then you fire the missile and it kills them. It only tracks if you got tags on them, but that isn't possible to replicate in Garden Warfare 2. At least as much as I'm aware of. So instead I'm going to make it work similar to the guided Ultra Ball for Super Brains. So here's the first test for the ability. You can see it's not really working well at all at the minute. So I made some changes to the ability and made it so it fires multiple rockets, and this is the result that I got. So it's starting to actually feel like it's getting us somewhere now, but we're still not there just yet. So I gave the weapon a bit of improved tracking and also a different crosshair, and you can see how it works here, it's tracking onto different targets. So in BFN, Hades uses a different weapon specifically for Can't Missile, and I'm going to try and get that working in the game now. So to get this working, I'm going to apply a buff, and that has an effect linked to it. And as you can see here, the effect comes with a model, and it applies it, and it looks just alright, it looks like it's just coming straight out of the weapon. So I made some more changes to the tracking, and now it turns out you can track multiple targets by moving your crosshair as you fire. So finally for this ability I need to get some sound effects in, so I added them in and it's basically all finished now. So with that ability done, it was time to work on Rocket Ride, which is probably Hades' most iconic ability. So my idea was to make it so Hades does like a rocket jump similar to Foot Soldier, and then he hovers into the air similar to like a low gravity effect. And while he's doing that, it fires some sort of ZPG constantly like the multi-rocket. So since the multi-rocket already applies a buff when you use the ability, it was already a good starting point for this weapon. So this is the first proper test I had for it, and you can see here it somewhat works, but once it finishes it doesn't launch you back down. So I messed around with a few event connections to cancel the buff once it all ended, and also added some sound effects, and this is the result that I got. So it is starting to come together now, but obviously we don't have a rocket just yet. So using the same technique I used for the homing rocket thing, I'm going to do the same thing for Rocket Ride and apply a little rocket that appears when you use the buff. So with all that done, I only have to do a little bit of polishing and then it's basically a complete rocket ride. Which leaves us with one more ability, which is the dynamite dodge. So at the start of the video I mentioned about doing the abilities hardest to easiest, so I would consider dynamite dodge the easiest ability to do. So what we're going to be doing is applying basically a sprint tackle buff and then dropping a projectile down after you do the tackle. Now I can't do directional dashes like I mentioned in the Acorn video because obviously the game doesn't really support it, so we're going to have to choose a single direction to go. So I decided to make it a backdash, since if you go further back it allows you to chain it with like the homing rockets and fire it at more targets, because obviously you have a further field of view. So this is the first test I did for the backdash. You can kind of see it doesn't work at all at the minute, it just fires a projectile that goes forward instead of dropping it. So I decided to build the projectile off Jade Cactus's projectile instead, since that one has like a timeout where it explodes after a few seconds, and also I can just give it gravity where it just falls directly on the ground. So now with that done, I decided to add the model and the sound effects to the game. So with all that done, it was now time to work on the most important thing on this model, the bandana. Like I mentioned earlier on in the video, the bandana was a separate model and I decided to finally get it and just put it in the game since it wasn't that difficult. You can see at the minute it's kind of clipping, but the bandana's in the game now. Once I make some adjustments it should all be fine. Also I decided to change his health to finally be 150 over 200 and also increase his speed as well. And with all that out the way and a bunch of different polishing, it was time to get in the icons. So for his booth icon I decided to render something in Blender since it just made it look a bit better than what it would look like if it was just an in-game screenshot. I also made the icons match the ones in BFN since those ones just match a bit better than me trying to draw one myself because I'm not very good at that. But you can see here all the characters starting to come together pretty well. So the final thing I had to do was make him a spotting icon, so I quickly designed one up and put it in the game, and I'll show you what it looks like on screen now. You can somewhat see the icon here, but I'll also show you a clip of me trying out the rockets. So here I wanted to see how the tracking worked. You can see here it is very good at tracking the Acorn. So with the spotting icon done, that's basically everything for Hades finished. So now I'm going to take this character into a normal match at Garden Warfare and see how he performs. If you want to download the mod for yourself, I will link the mod in the description so you can download it. So yeah, hope you enjoy the gameplay. So thanks for watching this video. If you did enjoy, feel free to leave a like and maybe subscribe if you want to. I'm going to leave a poll out on my community tab on what characters to do next between Nightcap and Snapdragon, so go over there and vote if you want to determine what character I develop next. But yeah, I hope to see you all in the next one.